Welcome to the Epic Success Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Shannon Irvin. Today I have my dear friend Colin Boyd coming on, and he has just released a book called One Presentation Away. And he is my go-to coach when it comes to anything speaking from stages. And he's got a very unique take on what it takes to get your message and your mission out to the world. And he has very specific structures on how to do so that I've used that has helped my business grow immensely. And I cannot wait to share his new book with you and things that you might not know that really make speaking, whether it's on a webinar, on a stage, and even in person in small events, go from just speaking to truly transforming. So let's dive into it. Here's my interview with Colin Boyd. Colin, welcome back to the podcast. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Great to be here, Shannon.
I'm so glad to be back with my audience talking about your brand new book, One Presentation Away. Like, this is crazy. I've been begging Colin for a book for a while. I don't know if he remembers that, but I'm like, dude, I just want to get inside your brain because the way your brain thinks about speaking, about presentations, it's the best in the industry. You know, that's why there's nobody else I would go to. And I love that my audience is getting an opportunity to learn from the masters. So tell me, what made you want to get this book out to the world?
First of all, I've been speaking professionally for 17 years.
Yeah.
And I wasn't teaching speaking at the start. I was a life coach, and I was teaching just, personal behavior change and all sorts of stuff, life coaching, cool stuff. And I really enjoyed it. But I loved speaking in my business. And I think, for me, it feels like a little bit of like one of those check boxes of, I've been doing this for long enough. I need to get something out, right? I've done courses, I've done masterminds, I've done group coaching. I've coached I think I've done about 4,500 paid coaching hours, individual coaching hours. I've just done so many reps of coaching people to speak. And I was just like, I need to put this into a book. So we were actually in the transition of moving countries at the time. And I got a deal with Wiley, who's my publisher. And they were like, hey, we want to get the book out by this date. I think it's October 27th. And so they're like, so we need you to have the book written by this date, right? And that was literally when we were moving countries. And so I'm like, holy moly.
Yeah.
So it was, but it was good. I got it done. And it's cool because it's one of those books where it just flowed out of me because I've done the 20,000 hours of work before, and so I was able to just write it as it went. So I'm excited to get it in more people's hands. If people can't do my courses or do coaching with me, a book's a great place for them to see a transformation.
That's a great place to start. So I'd love to hear from you, talking to the business owners, the entrepreneurs, the service people that are here. Why is it important for them to have this skill of speaking in their business? Is that for everybody?
Me, yeah, absolutely. For me, when you think about whenever you see someone speak on stage, there's some unconscious biases that comes along with that in a positive light, from the sense of if someone's speaking on a stage, even if it's virtual, like running a virtual event, like you as the speaker, you have some authority instantly, because it's like there's an assumption that you wouldn't be up there if you didn't know what you were talking about. So you get an authority, but secondly, because it's speaking and you get to spend some time with people, you build connection. So this beautiful balance of authority and connection creates a real charisma. It creates like an attraction. And then even more than that, it leads to conversions. It's a really great conversion mechanism if you want to speak and actually sell and get clients from it. And it's leveraged as well, which is the third element. So it gives you authority, gives you connection, but it also gives you leverage. It's like a one-to-many selling opportunity. And so for me, it doesn't matter what you're selling. I think, if you need to educate your customer on something, learning to speak it's just one of those X factor skills that makes a big difference.
Yeah, I know what it's done for my business. I couldn't replicate that any other way. And I want to dive into the structure because you talk about the structure in the book, but I want to start with what I think is Colin's secret sauce and why learning from him is the only person I would learn anything about stages or speaking from. And it's the whole thing about the origin story and the conversion story. And so just really quickly for my audience members that are listening, Colin has coached me from afar through his programs, and because we knew each other personally and I've listened to him speak so often, I knew I could follow his methodology and get an end result. And I realized, even though I was already speaking on stage quite frequently, I didn't actually take people on a journey to a conclusion or a conversion. And once I started really doing an origin story and really doing what you teach, which is this conversion story, that's when something magical happened. And what I mean by magical is people started, after speaking, going in my DMs, emailing us, how can I work with you? What can I do? It changed from that was a great speech, Shannon, I'm motivated, to motivating them to want to take it further. And so I'd love for you to dive in to, and I'll share my numbers a little later in the interview because it was really a powerful shift for our business. But
That's
I
cool.
would love to hear you talk about those two things, origin story versus conversion story, and what is it, and why do we even need to think about this in our presentations?
Well, I mean, first of all, storytelling in general is one of the most persuasive linguistic tools that you have.
Yeah.
And I think, moving into an age of AI,
Mm,
telling your personal story is going to be an X factor in the marketplace.
yeah.
And so people are just always going to connect with stories. And so, I mean, just first of all, just understanding that a story in general, the reason why it's so powerful is it's like a sniper influence tool
Yeah.
because it goes past the conscious mind and goes into the unconscious mind and starts to, embed or seed ideas
Yeah.
without the audience even knowing. So it becomes effortless. If you look at the greatest therapists, they
Hmm.
use story a lot. They use metaphor to
Yeah.
treat their clients. And so if you want to move someone, then story is a great place to start. And you mentioned this idea of the origin story versus the conversion story.
Mm.
Several years ago, I was watching a lot of speaking and just studying people who were doing well. And I noticed that there were some people when they told stories, it made me want to work with them. And then there were other people who told
Hmm.
stories, and I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, that's nice to know a little bit about them. But it didn't motivate me to want to work with them. And I
Yep.
realized that there were some unique differences between the storytelling structures and the way they told the stories. And one of the big differences, there's several, but one of the big differences between an origin story and a conversion story is that a conversion story is told in a way where the audience hears your story, but they feel theirs.
Hmm.
So throughout the story, there are moments where you stop and you reflect on what you were feeling, what you were going through, the dissonance that you were experiencing
Yeah.
through that moment. I was literally coaching a high level client yesterday. They run multi million dollar business. And I was watching one of their presentations. We're doing some private work together. And I said to them, like, great story, really powerful, but I didn't see myself in it. And
Mhm.
I started to like probe a little bit more into their story. And I could tell they were a little bit uncomfortable
Yeah.
sharing some of the more personal feelings that they were going through during that period. Like it was a challenging period in their life. And I said to them, I was like, guys, you're getting this, you're getting this wrong. The reason I'm bringing this up is not because it's about you. Your story has nothing to do with you. And they're like, what? What do you mean it's got nothing? I'm like, sure, it's you, but you need to tell it with the intention of when I tell this, the intention, the energetic intention is for the audience to see themselves in this story.
Mm.
And so one way you do that is universal emotions. So what you were experiencing at the time, and usually it's the dissonance that you were experiencing. The what did you want and what did you not have, like the challenge and the desire. So that's one distinction. And I think the other strongest distinction with a conversion story is a conversion story really aligns with the core idea of what you teach people. And so rather than telling your history of how you got into speaking,
Yeah.
you're going to tell a story where when you tell it, the audience has a revelation of, oh wow, so you were able to achieve what you wanted to achieve through the vehicle that you help people with. So for yourself, right, neuroscience, like how you think, how you work with your brain, understanding your wiring, changing your wiring.
Yeah.
And that story, when you tell your story of how that rewiring completely changed your life, your income, your results, automatically the audience is going to go, I want that experience as well if you tell it in the right way. And so for me, it's speaking, right? When I tell my story, it's going to be around speaking. And so depending on what your vehicle is, it's going to be structured based on the core idea of what you teach people.
I love that. And anybody who's listening has been around the podcast, you've heard me tell my story about that $200,000 ceiling. And that was walking through Colin's model and me being able to say, like, that was the point where I couldn't crush through it. Like, you guys have heard this. So, 9 times out of 10, when I get on a call with somebody, they're like, oh, me too. Is
Yeah.
that what you're like? The conversion story really lets them see themselves intimately in your story, like
Mm.
they're there.
Yeah. The conversion story just it answers three questions.
Hmm.
The first question is, are you like me?
There you go.
So your story should have a level of vulnerability where the audience goes, "Oh, this person's like me." Like I can see that they're obviously successful. They're speaking, they're doing the podcast, they're running a business, but I'm like, I feel like they get me, right? It's like that, and it's not are you like me physically,
Right,
racially,
right.
age wise. It's got nothing to do with demographics. It's got everything to do with emotions and struggle and difficulty. And so the story answers that first question, are you like me? The second question it has to answer is, can you lead me?
Yeah.
And the can you lead me is basically showing the audience that you've achieved something, you've seen a result, and you show them that not only you're like them, but you've also been through a journey where you can lead them.
Mm.
And so there's a beautiful resonance that occurs when you answer those first two questions. And then when you articulate clearly why you got that result, which for me it was that I realized that through one presentation I could see a breakthrough in my business, and that's my core premise or my core idea. And when you articulate that clearly, it answers the third question, which for the audience they're asking, is there a way I can do this also? Is there a path that I can follow?
Yeah.
And you answer those three questions and it becomes a conversion story. And
Mm.
so yeah, but we dive deeper into it in the book, but that's kind of
Yeah.
that's the general gist of it.
Well, and why this is it's always been important. Storytelling goes back, to scripture. It's like it's always been important to convey messages. But right now, especially for those that are already entrepreneurs, already business owners, already in the game, there's a massive trust deficit in the marketplace.
Yeah.
And I'd love for you to talk about how, and we'll dive into like the types of talks and all those things. But I would love for you to talk about how a conversion story is the answer to that trust deficit because of the structure in which we're walking through.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a fascinating time. I think,
Yeah.
with the rise of AI, content in general is becoming more of a commodity.
Mm,
And and so finding a unique angle, having a unique experience that, AI can't necessarily reproduce. I know for me, yeah, I'll go to AI and ask different questions.
mm,
But I'll still go to an expert if I resonate with their energy, who they are, what they are. Because for me, I feel like your story, when you tell your personal story, people feel your conviction. They
mhm.
feel your journey. And that's what
Yeah.
AI or other things can't reproduce. And the truth is that conviction sells more than content.
Yeah.
Like give me someone with crappy content and just killer conviction, and compared to someone with very little conviction, they're just saying things.
Yeah.
and great content, the person with conviction will win every time
Oh, hands down.
because people feel that. And I think storytelling helps to translate that sense of conviction, the journey, that authenticity in that journey. And I think people are becoming, even teenagers today, if you talk with them, that, they're very untrusting of content, untrusting of the
Yeah.
news, untrusting of information. And that permeates into society and the rest of their life. And I do think that more and more people are not trusting. And so story, I think, is one piece of it. I think there's other elements to it, but I think that story is definitely a key element to that.
I love that you brought up AI and kind of this information gluttony that's happening because
So true.
I know, right? Because and one of the things I'm doing right now is I'm consulting. I'm a consultant at Point Loma University in San Diego, and I'm helping them navigate this AI transition through the neural lens, right? And we're having conversations on how even education, even college education, is going to look so different in the next 5 years. You're going to see major universities that were the pinnacle of somebody's existence a decade ago may not even exist in a decade. And so when you're thinking about how am I going to get my message, my mission out to the world, storytelling and how to do it in a way that really connects is going to be the premier skill that people will need to take forward. So I'm going to transition because I could talk about just that the entire interview because I'm
Totally.
so I'm so on that right now. But I'd love for you to talk to the person who's sitting there saying, "Well, I'm never going to be on stage, but I'm
Mm.
selling products and I'm selling things, but I'm never going to be on stage." I love your take on what is a stage, so I'd love for you to talk about that, and then we'll dive into the types of talks that people
Mm.
do.
Yeah. Now, I will say for me, speaking was freaked me out. I remember
Yeah.
I used to stand in front of an audience, and I would, back in the day when you had a microphone that had a cord, and it's like I would have to hang on to it with both hands. It was like I was like wrestling an anaconda
Yeah.
while I'm standing on stage because I was shaking so much, and then the shaking would stop in my hands, and it would like transport down to my knee, and it would shake. And so for me, speaking was the worst kind of situation I could put myself into.
Yeah.
And so I do want to empathize with people who feel like that. It's funny because you'll see me, you see you speak at events and things like that now, but it definitely wasn't always
It's
like
that
that.
way for me either.
No.
Uh,
Um, I think for me, the biggest shift that happened was realizing that if I learn to speak, I can make a greater sense of impact. I can reach more people. I can serve more people. I can make more money. I can grow my business. Like the benefits just outweighed my fears.
yeah.
And so I got to the point where I was like, okay, I've got to master this. And when it came down to it, speaking for me is leadership.
Hmm.
And if you want to grow a business, especially if you're in like coaching space or, content space, it doesn't matter. I mean, even any business, essentially you're choosing to be a leader.
Yeah.
And the more I've become, the more I've grown in my business, the more I've realized that becoming a great entrepreneur is really just being a great leader.
Yeah.
And I would say learning to lead was really tough for me because I never saw myself as a leader. I remember my youth kind of pastor came up to me when I was younger, and she said, "Colin, a lot of the guys they were into bike riding, right? At the time, so we were all bike riding. It was like a little fad, and she goes, you're kind of like one of the people who sit in the peloton." And you ride with the guys and you love it. But one of the things with sitting in a peloton is you're supposed to pull out of the peloton at one point and you ride up the side. You'll see it in like Tour de France and stuff. They ride up
Yeah.
the side, they push hard and they sit at the front of the peloton. Like they like take turns.
Hmm.
And she's like, you never pull out and get in the front of the peloton. And for me, I was so scared of having the dirt hit my face, of having the resistance hit my face. I was so scared of pulling out from the pack and standing out in front
Yeah.
and pulling the peloton. And for me, when I decided that enough was enough, that I wanted to live a life that was big and not small,
Mm.
that was when I really started to lean into, becoming a speaker. And it literally can start with just putting that on your bio, maybe on your LinkedIn bio. You write, I'm a speaker, right? Or on your website, you write, I speak on these topics. It can start as small as that, but at the core of it, it's a decision to lead.
Yeah. Yeah. Decision to step into that level of your business to really help people. I love how you position it as speaking is leading and speaking is serving, because for most of the coaches and consultants out in the world, that's at the ethos of who we all
Yeah.
are. I don't think we'd be doing this work if we weren't at our heart wanting to transform people's lives. And so I love that you talk about speaking in the sense that it's a choice to become that head of the pack. It's that choice to say, you know what, they matter enough for me to get some dirt in my face.
Yeah.
I love the picture. I love the image. We're like avid Tour de France watchers, so I'm like, totally get it. Um, and so in my opinion, if you have a business in any level, you are that leader, and therefore you have to communicate your message. And so you are a speaker, whether you
Mhm.
want to be or not. And I love, Colin, that you share how scared you were. Like I have a vivid memory of having to let go of the mic because I was shaking so much the first time I spoke. It was like literally reverberating through the
Yes.
microphone. But as I've done it more, and as I see people light up, and as I see people lean in, and as I see people become different than they were before they met me, man, like that's the juice, right? Like there's nothing better than getting good at your craft so that people can get the transformation, right?
It's so true. I had a client of mine. He just spoke at his first big event. It was 5,000 people.
Awesome.
And this is a guy, he was in real estate, did really well in real estate, and then basically he got asked by a big real estate corporation or a big real estate kind of group to be a keynote speaker. And he's like, Colin, he's like, I'm not a speaker, right?
Yeah.
But the dude is like a weapon. He's a driven entrepreneur. And
Yeah.
so he hired me, paid me a lot of money, and we sat down and worked on his speech. And he said that he practiced his speech 100 times before he actually got up and did it.
Amazing.
He got up, spoke, he called me straight after. He was like, he's so funny. He's like, Colin, that was the wildest thing I've ever done in my life. He's like, I've made millions of dollars, but nothing compares to that experience. And
Yeah.
now he's hooked.
Yeah. So I was wondering if it was like the speaker's high. Yeah.
Yeah,
Once
he
you
was
got it, like,
absolutely. But do you know what's crazy? After it, Tony Robbins, who was the headline speaker at the event,
huh?
pulled him aside and said, Hey, you crushed that.
Oh,
Can you chat with my main guy? I want to bring you on the road and start getting you to speak about real estate with our team, like with
what?
our, yeah, literally. And then the
Dude.
next year, he got booked as the headline.
Wow.
This is insane, right? It's so cool. But it's just cool. Like, the reason I share that is it's if you can get in the right mindset and practice it so much that it becomes almost boring to deliver the content, then you can truly enjoy
Yeah.
the experience. And it's amazing. It's such a great high.
What a great story for the book titled One Presentation Away. Like, I think that story
Yeah,
just
literally.
really like that shows you like, how quickly things can shift. I'd love for us to share a little bit about the three types of talks, because not every time is a stage talk. Like there's some
Yes.
times that you're up there for different reasons. So I'd love for you to talk about this, because this helps us really get like, why am I here? What am I doing? And then how do I approach that? So I'd love for you to dive into those three different types of talks that people can give.
Yeah. So I teach there's one, you really are one presentation away from a breakthrough, but at the essence, it's going to break into three types of talks. And contextually, what I teach is selling through presentation. So selling from the stage. And so really the goal for usually our clients are wanting to get clients from a presentation.
Right.
Now, the three talks that I teach is the first type of talk is a sharp sell. a sharp sell contextually fits into any presentation you give where there's a direct offer for people to buy something at the end. So maybe it's a webinar where it's your webinar and you have full permission to make an offer. Maybe it's an event that you're running, an in-person experience, and you have full permission, you have the stage to make an offer at the end, and you say, hey, buy my thing. Like, this is the next step, right? So that's called a sharp sell. The second type of talk is a soft sell. And a soft sell is essentially, it's a very similar structure, but really the next step is going to be to book a call in. It's going to be a download a PDF. I do a lot of soft sells when I speak in other people's groups. So when I do like a masterclass, or I'll do a coaching session, or I'll do something for someone else, or maybe I'll speak at an event for them, and it's a non-selling event, but they'll usually be okay for you to get people's details if they're interested in taking your next step, booking a call, all that sort of stuff. I used to do that a lot when I worked with corporations. So I would go and speak at like an industry event, and at the end I would do a happy sheet, right? They would check on like, how happy were you with Colin's presentation? But I really didn't care what they rated me. What I cared about was the last little section at the bottom of the happy sheet, which was, would you be interested in having a conversation with Colin about one of his programs in your company? And I would go and speak with a room of 50 people. I'd probably get maybe 10 solid leads out of the 50. But that would turn into hundreds of thousands of dollars of corporate work when I used to do coaching and training in corporations. And so for me, I would do probably 4 to 5 free presentations at industry events a year. And it turned into enough work that I lived a really great life just doing that. So that's a soft sell. And then the last one is a no sell, which is just like a classic keynote. But I say it's a no sell because it's designed so that you don't do an offer, you don't do an opt-in, you don't do anything. You're getting claps, but the claps should turn into clients. If you speak in a way that is designed to create attraction in what you do, at the end, you should have a line of people coming up going, that was amazing.
Right.
How do we work together? Like, that should be the answer, right? I remember I did my first no sell at someone else's event, and a lady came up to me and she gave me her physical credit card. And she's like, Colin, I don't know what you sell, but I need to buy it. And she physically gave me her credit card, put it into my hand. And I'm like, okay, I can't. So I looked for the exit and I ran, right?
Yeah.
And so with the credit card, but no, I gave it back to I've still got it today. I just put.
I still got it just like on the wall.
Yeah, I just put gas on it today. No, I gave it back to her. I was like, look, I've got nothing to sell here. But she ended up becoming a client. She joined Sell from Stage Academy, and then she's been a client for many years. So it's just like, that's the goal of that type of talk. And for me, the obsession came when I used to do a lot of presentations in corporates. That was when I first started. I don't do many corporate presentations now. But my goal was always to get the next consulting gig out of it, to get the next speech out of it, to get the next client. So it was absolutely to deliver value. But I'm like, I don't want this to just be a one-time gig. This has to like lead to something else. And so I just got really good at designing the presentation so that people would come up to me and be like, hey, that was amazing. But how do we take this next step? Like, what's the next thing we have to do together?
Yeah. And because of the conversion story and all that you teach in the book, and that's why I'm not asking Colin like how to do that. That's what you need the book for. So like if you want to know, get the book, because that's going to go over like the how-to behind everything that we're talking today about. But I would love to share, I have 2 final questions for you. One, I think a lot of people wonder about this. What does it really take to get up and make one presentation and bring in 6 figures?
Okay, it takes a few things. It doesn't just happen.
No.
It doesn't just happen. There's 3 things that have to align. There is, firstly, you need an audience that has money to pay for your product, right? They've got money, they have a problem that you can solve, and there has to be enough of that audience in front of you.
Yeah.
Now, if you've got a high ticket offer, like a $10,000 offer, you don't need that many people in front of you, especially if it's in person and you're running an in-person event. Like you can do six figures from 15, 20 people in a room.
Yeah.
Easily, you can do six figures if you have a high ticket offer. So first of all, you need an audience that has a problem that can pay you and that enough of that audience. The second thing is you need a message that really resonates with that audience and is designed specifically to move the audience from where they are to wanting to take the next step, right? So the offer is the outcome.
Yeah.
And then the third element is you need an irresistible offer, right? You need an offer where people see it and they want to work with you. Like it sounds amazing. Now, I remember for me the shift, because I was doing a lot of online presentations and we were doing about, $30,000, $40,000. And that was great. That was great.
Yeah.
But I remember one day I decided, I was like, okay, what would it take for me to do more than 100,000 in
Yeah.
one presentation? And I really started to think about like who would I be? Who would I have to show up as? How would I have to function as a CEO in my business
Yeah.
to build an experience where I made over $100,000? And I realized that I would have to reach out and put myself out of my comfort zone and get people to probably affiliate for me, like to bring in I needed more of an audience because I was starting with basically very little
Right.
audience. And I was like, I've got to make this offer amazing. I've got to design the presentation so it really resonates. And I went all in on it. I mean, it was a launch style presentation, right? So it was a webinar. Actually, no, this one was a 3-part series. So it was three videos. And we did like 156,000 in that period, which was amazing. But that was the first time I made like six figures in essentially one, series of presentations.
Mm.
And I realized, wow, that's actually really possible.
Yeah.
And what's cool is I've just seen so many of my clients do it now. And I think it's almost like that, with the 4-minute mile. Like once you do it once, then you can help people to actually do it. So there is a level of tenacity and almost like you have to knight yourself. You,
Right.
you,
There's that leadership again, right?
yeah, you've got to knight yourself and go, I will knight myself and say, I am ready to make money from my presentation. I'm ready to be a speaker because no one's going to come up and knight you, by the way. You just knight yourself.
Yeah.
And
No mayor of the internet, as our
yeah,
friends.
there's no mayor of the internet. So yeah, actually remind me because I want to talk about one of the bonuses and
Yeah.
it actually addresses exactly that you just brought up. So
Ooh, this is juicy. So I'm going to brag a little bit, and then I want to hear about these
yeah,
bonuses from the book, because the reason I wanted to ask that question was because Colin and I have known each other for a long time now, been in a lot of rooms together. And same thing, my presentations were doing great. We do 50, we do 60, and I'm pretty tenacious, so I just do a lot more of them,
yeah,
And I was getting pretty burnt out. Like I love what I do, but there's a point where if you have to do that much volume just to hit certain numbers of people, and I always think about it in numbers of people, not dollars necessarily, but and we had a conversation, and it was kind of in the how you were defining this conversion story, and then the types of talks, everything we talked about today. And I was just sitting there taking notes, and went back and I recrafted what I delivered already 20 plus times, but now taking these concepts that the people can, when they buy the book, can learn. That was the first of many, many, many multiple six-figure launches of our program at the time. And the only thing I shifted was how I told the stories and how I spoke from the stage, how I led. And all of that was kind of coming through these vehicles that you talk about in the book. And so I wanted to
that's cool.
share that because it was that switch, but it's also that knowing that I had a way to convey the message that really landed. And I knew what I was doing would lead them to a decision and a conclusion, and then make the best decision for themselves, and doing it unapologetically, right? Making that decision. So I just wanted to brag on that from a personal standpoint, that the book can really literally, you could be one book away and I'm one presentation away from really making your business that freedom business that you
Mm.
got into business to begin with. So I love this book, Colin. I'm so glad you finally are putting it out to the world. And so, of course, down below, you're going to see links to be able to order it. Maybe you'll see a pre-order, but by the time this airs, it'll be ordering the book. I'd love to hear. I know you got a lot of incredible bonuses coming their way when they buy the book this round.
Yeah.
So tell me about them.
Yeah. Oh, amazing. Yeah. So obviously one presentation away, I've put everything, like everything that you need to know to build out that presentation to get that foundations right, which we've talked about on today. One thing for me that I've noticed that took me to another level was exposure therapy. And what I mean by that is just being around people who have done things bigger than me. And so what I've put together as one of the bonuses, if you go out and grab it now, because this bonus is going to go away, it's I've called it the 100K presentation vault. So it's four in-depth interviews with students of mine who went from making, 5,000, 10,000 on a presentation to doing over $100,000 in one presentation. But it's unpacking like what was the decisions they made? What was the content they changed? What
Yeah.
was the marketing they changed? How much money did they spend if they did marketing? Like it's under the hood. And I think it's rare that you actually get to see that. You see a lot of stuff on Instagram and all the achievements that people have.
Yeah.
But to actually see what it takes to do that. So if you're someone who has, a big drive to do more than $100,000 in one presentation, then that's a cool little bonus. So if you go to onepresentationawaybook.com, that's where all the bonuses are. So if you just order it on Amazon or wherever you want to order it, you can just put in the receipt number there and then we'll send that over to you. There's some other cool bonuses in there as well, but that one I wanted to highlight because I
Wow.
think that's a cool one to see behind the
So
scenes.
really cool. Because so few people actually show you behind the scenes of
Yeah.
like, make this shift, do these things, and that will make the difference. And there are a lot of great bonuses in there. I just want to encourage you if you have a message at all, whether you're just getting started or you've been at it for a while and you've got something dialed in, I guarantee you there's a whole nother gear you have not accessed yet. And that you can access it in this book. So make sure you go down below, get the book, and I'll tell you this in the let me edit that back. Alex edit that. Check out down below because we are going to be doing a very cool contest for those of you who buy the book and come back and let us know. So take a look at those details. We're going to really be making sure we get it into your hands. I believe this is a book that every entrepreneur, it's going to be the list of the top 5 books that they need. So Colin, I'd love to just wrap up with you letting the audience know just a final thought. Like, what is
Mm.
the last thought you want to leave them with about the book and about speaking in general?
Mm. I think my last thought is just that idea that I've always lived my life by when I make leaps, which is, you know, when you're 90 years old sitting on your rocking chair looking back on your life, you're not going to regret the shots that you took. You're going to regret the ones that you didn't take. And my encouragement for you is if you feel a calling in your heart to share your message on a bigger stage and share your message with the world, something that's impacted you, I feel like you don't have a choice. It's not like a should. You must. You must get on a stage and speak, even if it starts small. It doesn't matter, because my biggest fear, and I feel like this is a commonality with a lot of entrepreneurs, is to get to the end of my life and feel like I didn't really go after it. And that's my encouragement for you. If you feel a calling in your heart to speak, grab the book. My picture is that you'd be sitting there one afternoon, just reading through it, and it just awakening something in you to step into that bigger life that you know that's within you. So appreciate you and appreciate you guys sharing my message, Shannon.
Oh, totally, totally excited to do so. All right. Well, Colin, thank you so much for coming back on the podcast. And I cannot wait till my listeners get this in their hands.
So good.
Okay. That was incredible. Colin, thank you so much for telling us so much of what is going to make the difference in our businesses with speaking, how to speak, what types of speaking that we can do, and then obviously that conversion story and what makes magic when we speak and really transforming lives. As you know, the book is out. Click the link down below. Go ahead and buy it. Bring the receipt back to the page that he has there, and you're going to get all those incredible bonuses. And I am really encouraging you. This is going to be one of those books that you want to keep by your side as you're scaling your business. So great podcast today. Colin, thank you for being on. That's it for the Epic Success Podcast for this week. Bye for now.